Welcome to the 8th Annual Speedway State of the Town Address. My name is Jacob Blaze. I'm the Town Manager of Speedway. And thank you all for being here this morning. As we like to say, it's always a beautiful day in Speedway, even if the weather's not always cooperating with us. And thank you also to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for hosting us. You guys don't have to host us, but you do every year, and I can't really think of a better facility to have this event every year. I also can't think of a better place to be on May 27th. Quick little plug for IMS, but I think everyone in this audience knows what happens that day. Hopefully have better weather for that. Can't believe we're less than 100 days out from the 102nd running. Before we dig in, I'd like to welcome and mention a few of our elected officials that are here. Of course, we have our Speedway Town Council with us. We also have our City County Councilors, Janice McHenry and Marilyn Feaster. Our Wayne Township Trustee, Andy Harris, is with us. And then I see our State Representative, Carly Macer, is here. These are folks that represent areas outside of Speedway, but also represent Speedway, and they're strong advocates for us and work closely with us. So thank you guys for the work you do for our town. It's really appreciated. And with that, we'll begin this morning with the presentation of the colors by the Speedway Police and Fire Department Honor Guard. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by members of Boy Scout Troop 97. So please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing. The national anthem will be sung by Alex Hutchick, who is an 8th grader at Speedway Junior High.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the
Next, I'm going to ask our Public Safety Chaplain, Rick Castle, to lead us all in a moment of prayer.
Please join me now in an attitude of prayer. Our gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this day, even though it's a bit rainy. We thank you for the blessings that we have for each of these who have arrived here safely today. We thank you for all of our town council members and our town manager, for our city, county council representatives and state representatives, for all those in public safety. We give you thanks for each one. We pray that you will continue to bless them with wisdom, guidance, and safety. Continue to walk and work within us as we endeavor to make this town of Speedway the best that it can possibly be. We thank you for the hospitality of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We thank you for your blessings. May they continue. We give you thanks and praise. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Great. Again, welcome and thank you for spending your Saturday morning here with us. The state of the town really represents a unique opportunity for us. I think the job and the day-to-day of local government, we can get bogged down in the operations of what we do. And that's understandable. I mean, we all want our water to turn on, we want our roads cleared and potholes patched, and we want, when you call and have an emergency, you want a public safety officer to be there to respond and respond quickly and competently. And that's all the important stuff, and that's the stuff we focus on day to day. But the state of the town really represents an opportunity for us to step back and think strategically about where we've been and where we're going as a community, and to rally around that shared thought and idea. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for being engaged and interested in what's going on in your community. Next, unfortunately, Doug has had an emergency come up, and he's not able to join us. But with us here to speak on behalf of IMS is Joe Barbridge.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Obviously, I am not Doug Bowles, but I hope I represent the Speedway as well as he does. You know, in 92 days, we will celebrate the 102nd running of the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing in all of sports. And to do that, we couldn't do that without your support. The countless events that we have here, we have over 300 events a year, working with the town of Speedway, the Speedway Police Department, Speedway Fire Department, and the countless citizens of Speedway. You know, we couldn't do that without you. So we appreciate everything you do for us, and we hope that we represent the town as well as you guys represent us. So I know Doug would probably have a better speech written for you, but I had about 5 minutes to prepare for this. So thank you all for being here today, and we just really appreciate your support. So we couldn't do anything without your support. Thank you.
I don't envy anybody who's asked to pinch hit for Doug Bowles, so good job. Thank you. Our next speaker that we're going to have is, he's in his speech, everything he says is going to be true. He's going to talk about our great school system. He's going to talk about the hardworking students, the engaged parents, the great teachers we have, the principals, assistant principals, assistant superintendents. I will warn you, though, he's going to make an error in his speech. And I'll go ahead and correct that for us right now. He's going to forget to tell you that tying all of that together is a really great leader and probably the state's best school superintendent that's out there. We're very fortunate to have him. So now that I've corrected the one error he was going to make in his speech, please help me welcome our school superintendent, Ken Hall.
I make pretty good coffee. That's about what I do, folks. First, let me start by saying that you have a board of trustees that starts everything, and that begins with President Luke Bickle, Vice President Laura DeGay, Treasurer Tom Smith, and board members Debbie Gonzalez and Bill Hartman. They're here to serve you. They wouldn't run for office. They're here to serve. Please don't hesitate to contact them. And on their behalf, thank you for letting us take a few moments of this important event this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to teach the best kids on a regular basis in the greatest environment possible with your support and your care. Thank you for providing us with a level of services that's unknown in Indiana. We essentially have an extension of the school called the public library under the town's control. We have the best fire and police coverage that kids could ever have. Our utilities are unmatched. We don't miss school. They reroute water and electricity to get us open when needed. Thank you for providing us with financial support, which allows us to offer an educational program that is not average, that is truly exceptional, and your support's unparalleled. Thank you for allowing us to maintain and attract the best teachers and the best administrators, because they're a key to this. It's been my pleasure to do this program for many years, and I'm starting to be a little more elderly, and I'm a little step slower than I used to be, and so the district is turning over much of the financial and operations of the district to a new assistant superintendent, Kyle Trebly, and he'll talk a little bit about that, but I get to have the fun stuff and talk about the program. I hope that I can live up today to the words of that immortal American poet, contemporary Toby Keith. I want you to remember, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm hoping I'm as good once as I ever was today. In the past, I've come in and talked about straight A schools and high graduation rates and lowest taxes, and quite frankly, no one even seems to notice that anymore. It's just routine. It's just what our kids do. It's just what our teachers do. We post A grades and people yawn. Well, folks, it takes a lot of work to do that, and we're working hard to keep it up. But today, I'd like to talk about some of the other recognitions we get that we tell people about, but maybe they don't always understand. And these kind of results don't happen because we put information out. It's because someone goes out and finds it, compares it, and then calls us with recognition. Probably the country's two biggest newspapers of record are the New York Times and the Washington Post. The Washington Post has selected Speedway High School, and this is a recognition I really appreciate, and that is as one of America's most challenging high schools. That means students in Speedway go through a rigorous program that is second to none. You know, frankly speaking, our regular diploma is a 48-credit diploma based on what used to be called the Indiana Honors Diploma. And there's really not a big honor in getting that at Speedway. You take 48 credits. And for some of you that are smiling that graduated with me in the 70s, we used to take the equivalent of 32 credits. They're doing 48. And that's 4 years of math, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and at minimum pre-calc. And often our kids go through calculus and statistics. And until you've had statistics with Mr. Probst, you just haven't had fun. And any high school kid out there knows I'm lying. It's not fun, but it is good. We also have a science program that includes biology, integrated chemistry and physics, chemistry and physics at its highest level. We even occasionally have students who go online and study physics too. Our English is absolutely 4 years, and in the senior year, it's research and college essay writing. And our social sciences conclude in macroeconomics and government. Inside of that program are 14 advanced placement courses offered by the College Board. And so in addition to the Washington Post telling us that we have a most challenging high school, we also have the College Board, and they're the SAT folks, for those of you who remember that fun Saturday morning 30 years ago. But our students can earn up to 42 fully transportable college credits while in high school beginning in their freshman year. And the College Board has recognized Speedway High School in its honor roll because so many students participate in AP and so many students successfully participate in AP. And I can tell you that is only possible because of your support of the referendum, because it allows us to hire the teachers who can teach that and allows us to have classes taught to 12 and 15 students. Absolutely exceptional that our students do that. There's a lot of ways you can measure a high school, and those kind of recognitions are great in addition to the A's and in addition to the different recognitions. But we've received some information this year about and we know that our high school is what it is because of our elementary schools and our junior high school. But this year we learned some information through research from Stanford University. Stanford University did a longitudinal study starting with the class of 2009 in third grade through 2014. And Stanford did this across the state, and they determined the schools that help students grow the most, because that's really what it's about. Where did they come in and where did they finish? They identified 12 schools as the best in the state because on average in 5 years of school, grade 3 through grade 8, Speedway students, same students, longitudinal, were making 6 years of growth. That, frankly, well, 12 out of 290 in the state made that kind of growth, and that's the average of every student. You put your kids in our elementary schools and our junior high schools, and they are going places. Quite frankly, they're. We're even pleased that, you know, you all don't know this, and he's going to talk, but you've kind of got a resident nerd in the district named Gary Raikes. And about 5 or 6 years ago, he's looking through the internet like he does, and he calls me and says, "Hey, Ken, you need to look at this thing called Nerd Wallet." Why? It identifies Speedway as one of the best value schools, and we continually are that. That also led me to a company that's growing called Niche, N-I-C-H-E. And what they do is evaluate school districts top to bottom across multiple measures. And they have ranked Speedway schools last year as the 12th best out of 290 school districts in the state. So we're so happy that our students have this opportunity to come to school in a safe place, in a great supportive community, with just great service clubs like the Lions, who next week are having a pancake breakfast. No shameful plug there. And I'm going to give one more shameful plug before I turn this over to the really interesting money and operations stuff with Kyle. But as soon as we're done, don't be upset that we're going to walk away from you. But no, there are probably 40 or 50 high school kids right back at the high school at 10 o'clock this morning. They're going to be ringing phones for scholarships for Speedways. Please give. Those are your dollars going straight to our kids. Since scholarships for Speedway started, they've raised over $1 million for Speedway kids. And 3 months from now, this year, they'll raise hopefully $25,000, and there'll be 25 kids getting a $1,000 scholarship because of the giving that you do. And we're going to go back and see if we can support them, because this will be the first time we teach high school kids the value of coffee and caffeine. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Trebly. Thank you.
Thank you. Simply the best. The best. Every day I have the privilege of going to work, and I feel like I'm in undergrad, master's, and a PhD program every single day learning from him. So thank you, Mr. Hull. Efficiency to the penny. That's what we do. We're effective and we're efficient with what we do. Recently, we replaced and updated 4 of 5 of our campuses with new LED lighting. We can land airplanes now at the high school. This included wall packs, canopy lighting, and parking lots. It's bright. It's beautiful. Please take note. This is only one sample of strategic thinking within a master plan of being good financial stewards of our taxpayers. Speedway Schools, like in the past, has the lowest school property taxes in Marion County. For example, we are about 84 cents. Beech Grove is $2.64. Wayne Township, $1.97. IPS, Indianapolis Public Schools, $1.13. Let me go back to the first stat. Speedway, 84 cents. That's tremendous. This happens because of the teamwork of our local government, our town council, school board, police, fire, park and rec, street departments, but most importantly, the people of Speedway. An example of our partnership is the most recent crosswalks. We have 2 now that were implemented this year to improve the safety, not only for our kids, but for the entire community. The school corporation can't say thank you enough to all those groups. We are pleased to inform the public that the new addition to Wheeler Elementary, the 2 new classrooms and bathroom, are serving kids well and are cost effective. But as the enrollment continues to climb here in Speedway, we must be forward thinkers and act accordingly. Although we continue to collect the least amount of taxes, we believe that we should use the most in our classrooms. Because we have great teachers and small class sizes is a common theme to our success for Speedway schools. People continue to ask me, how do we do it? It's simple and boring. We put the best teachers in the classroom with small classes and we have results. It's simple and it's boring. But they want a secret formula and that's what we keep going back to. It's about the people. So when new people are moving into our community, we get a lot of that in our school district, and we see it over and over again. I asked a realtor recently, what do they say when they want to come to Speedway? Or what do they think about our community? And the continuous item that they say, and the continuous line is, you guys have tremendous schools. And they want to move here, as we only have 4 MLS listings as of today for sale. In 2010, the ladies told me that we had 70 on average. There are only 4 listings right now in Speedway. People want to be here, and I thank you for that. So, one of the greatest compliments that I've ever heard as a principal was last summer when I always ask kids during our summer lunch program that's free to the community and the kids, is simple. What are you thinking? And they're like, we can't wait. Wait for what? To come back to school. Folks, that doesn't happen in every community, as our kids want to break the doors down to get back to school, most of them, especially in a high school setting. But you're going to see this from time to time again, that our kids love being in our schools, and we love them being in our schools. So please visit our website to see the videos of our alumni. You will be so proud of those people that represent them. And please take some time, show your children on what great alumni we have. You will be proud for that. We continuously say, once a spark plug, always a spark plug. And the longer that I'm here, that's a reality. So thank you all for having us today, and we're going to get back to work. Thank you.
Good morning, Speedway residents.
Good morning, Gary.
Business leaders, community volunteers, and friends of Speedway. Thank you all for being here today, and for those watching on YouTube or via our cable access channel. Doug Bowles couldn't be here this morning, so the words I prepared ahead of time and will probably adjust as I go through the statements I've prepared. I want to thank Doug, even though he's not here, he and his entire staff, for the commitment they have to our community. We are so proud to be the namesake for the greatest motor speedway in the world, and all the history and everything else that's occurred since the early 1900s is what makes us who we are today. So I thank Ken and Kyle. I know they had to leave, so I thank them as they're now entering their vehicles. But it's true. Some of the things that Jacob called out are absolutely true. Some of the things they called out are true. Ken is, in my opinion, and not just my opinion, the very best of superintendents in our state. In my business, I've had the pleasure of meeting probably 125 school superintendents, administrators, teachers, teacher union groups, and every time I tell them where I'm from, they first of all, they say, wow, we wish we had appointed school boards. And they also say, we wish we had Ken Hall and people like Ken Hall as our superintendent. And you know, the folks that he has coming up behind him, and Kyle and John Disney and many other administrators, teachers, and so on, are just tremendous. So I thank them for that. The other part about me being a geek is true, or at least it had been at one part of my life. I was an engineer, a young engineer working at Allison. I had a pocket protector. Okay. And today I wear a spark plug tie. So if that makes me a geek, I'll grab those things proudly. But I also want to thank the leadership they have over our students in the schools. Is it just me, or does Alex need to be the next voice contestant? Did she do a great job with the national anthem? And the Key Club that was here this morning that welcomed each of us, they serve in varying ways in our community, and we thank them for that service. But the leadership qualities that we're teaching in our schools, and that's just getting better and better each year. It's also great to have our scouts here, most of which attend Speedway schools. So with that, I also thank Jacob and Michelle and others on our town management staff for facilitating this annual event. All of us speaking this morning prepared to speak. We have a really pretty easy job. We just need to follow the script. They did all the heavy lifting. They prepared, they planned, they prepared in advance, and they worked hard today to get us off on the right foot. So thank you for your efforts. I want to thank Rick Castle. He's a great servant as our chaplain in our public safety. Over the years, he has been there along with our firefighters, our police officers, along with Wayne Township firefighters. And I see Andy Harris here, and I know the other elected officials are recognized earlier. I want to point out Andy because he and Rick and other chaplains work really hard when there are emergencies, acute emergencies, where it impacts people personally. They step up and take care of them on a personal level. So I thank Rick for always being there for us in so many difficult, sensitive ways. As I pondered my comments for this morning, what I really wanted to do was make this interesting so that when I get to my 47th page, you'll still be listening. Well, not really 47 pages. Actually, what I did was I looked back at previous presidents' State of the Towns, including Dave Lindsay's, my own, a couple other folks that have done them over the years, and all of them have been terrific. But I promise you, mine's not 47 pages. It's actually just 9. I looked at Dave's last year. It was 17. I'm teasing, Dave. I'm teasing. And then I also looked at my own my own comments from last year, which were 3 pages. Jeff, how many are yours today? 5. Yeah. So, but he's getting older. I'm not sure he's worn his glasses today, so he printed it in 24-point type. So that might be one reason it went to 5 pages. But seriously, I thought it might be helpful to go over my comments, previous presidents' comments, and the way they organized the things they were going to say. But as I presented the year ahead last year, I went back and looked at that, and you know what I found? A lot of the things that we thought were going to happen have happened. There's a few things that didn't. There's a few surprises, a few disappointments, a lot of celebrations. But I wish I could go through every single one of them, but then you would be bored and you'd move on and you have other things to do, so I won't do that. So this morning, I'll just try and be as brief as I can, but at the same time share as much as I can about the progress we're making as a town, because today is a day to celebrate the progress that we're making, the people who make it happen, because it's about the greater good for our town. We're not split with political or personal agendas. I don't see a big divide there, and some people applauding for some things and not for other things. That doesn't mean we agree on every single point, but we work together, because I think my own opinion on being involved in this town leadership for about 10 years is that when I come across, whether it's a resident or business, we agree on 98% of the things that are out there. It's only a few things we disagree. And if we can focus on those areas where we can make improvement and where we do agree and talk honestly and caringly with each other about those areas where we maybe do have some disagreement, we get a lot more done. And I think that's the great thing about our small town. So thanks in advance for your attention, and I encourage you to applaud when you find it worthy. So this time last year, I spoke of the changes in progress and the ongoing recruiting effort for economic director and a town manager. We respectively hired and announced Tim Gropp in March and Jacob Blaisdell in April. Both have worked hard to learn all they could in their first year in their roles, while also producing terrific results. A few months later, we announced a structural change that our council had researched and considered for a few years, the creation of a director of public works and our own Wendell Walters was promoted into that role. Wendell served our town for 174 years, well, maybe not quite that long, but 30 plus years. First in the fire department, eventually as assistant fire chief, and then he moved over to oversee our streets, and he has been promoted to that new role of Director of Public Works mid-year last year, and he's doing a great job. The Parks Department hired Tammy Smith to guide the day-to-day activities of recreation, and she's doing a fantastic job. We're so glad to have her as well. She also lives in our town, and we're excited about that. She's made quick progress. There are a few key retirements that occurred in public safety, and our chiefs and other administrators, staff members worked hard to recruit and to promote quality people to step into new roles. There was a slight restructuring in the operational hierarchy, if you will, of our police department. That seems to be working really well, and all these activities have pointed to great results in 2017 and even greater results here in 18. Our business community kept right on motoring along. Slight pun there. I just hope you got the pun. Here at the Brickyard, a new event was added, an LPGA golf event. I see Allison Duncan in the crowd. She's a former LPGA player. She had a lot to do with that event coming to Speedway. When my wife Lori and I had the opportunity to meet, she and Brody 5 years ago. No, it was 4 years ago. They had a little 1-year-old. They were walking down Main Street. Got to know them one day, and a few weeks later, she was telling me about this project she was working on to bring a golf tournament to Indianapolis in Lawrence. And I said, "What, Lawrence?" And then I said, "You need to do it in your hometown, your new hometown." And between Allison, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, some other really great leaders in our community of greater Indianapolis, they made it happen. They actually brought it to Speedway. And it was a great event last year, and we've got a few more years guaranteed on that event, and I'm so excited about that. So thank you, Allison, for helping to make that happen. So we also had here at the Brickyard, the 101st running of the 500. Takuma Sato is a great champion, and he's represented IndyCar really well. I'm going to pivot here and talk about many of the small businesses. I saw Dave Huff earlier. I don't know if his wife Marcia is here. They own a couple of restaurants on Main Street, most recently Tacos and Tequila. They are really investing in our town. They're working hard. They're just great leaders in a small business method, and we're really excited and appreciate what you're doing. I also want to call out Brocky Brown. Brocky launched a new newspaper, Town Talk, I believe it's called. It brings a fresh perspective on positive things happening in our community, and it's highly professional. And I think A.J. Nelson and his wife Shirley, they published the Longtime Town Press. I see A.J. with us today. Allison Transmission, Larry Dewey's been the CEO and president there for a long time. He announced his retirement last year. He gave several decades of great leadership, not good leadership, but great leadership, and was the driving force behind the buyout from General Motors. He made that happen, and he kept the company here in Speedway, and that was his intent from the very beginning. He's staying in a role on the board. I believe he's still chairman, but he's put a terrific team in place to carry that company forward. We've talked with Allison, and they have a goal to continue to grow, but they also have a goal to stay here. Allison and their similarly large business neighbor to the north, Praxair, are hiring at all levels. In the next 5 to 10 years, they expect to replace, because of retirements, 40% of their workforce. That's 40% of some 4,500 people, I believe it is. So there's great opportunities in Speedway. The really cool thing that's happened, I talked to a realtor recently, and this is a notable real estate agent that works in the urban environment, and he said that Speedway has arrived in terms of millennials. And those millennials and the young Gen Xers are those new employees that will go on to Allison and Praxair, and here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they've already been hiring in that regard. And our future is very bright because those millennials are picking Speedway to live. And where we've seen improvement in the old neighborhood near Main Street, we're beginning to see improvement in other areas of town from a residential standpoint as well. 5 years ago, I know someone who bought a home, and a year ago they sold that home for 50% more than they bought it for. They put a little money in it, they put a lot of sweat equity in it, but they sold it for 50% more than what they paid for it. Then they went down the street and they bought another home and put that amount more into the next home. And I can look out here in the audience this morning, and I know other people are doing the same thing or have done the same thing. The video that will play in a few minutes will recount many advances that we've experienced the last year, and their continuation into this year will be outlined by Jeff, who will speak about 2018. So I won't go in through every one of those as much as I'd like to, because there's great success stories. They're fun to talk about. I won't do that. But I do want to point out one of them. It's the Speedway Marketplace. Last year we saw developments on the south side of Holman Memorial Way as you enter the Speedway from 465. The buildings and the businesses being built there are a continued example of the progress that was started to make a plan, and then for our town to come out of blight some 10 to 18 years ago. There have been 1,000 people involved in that. It's been great. I could share more, but time just won't allow. So I'll focus a significant time on schools. Kyle was talking and Kim were both talking about things that we didn't share speeches or scripts, but they talked about a lot of things that I had in mind to say this morning. There's a couple of things that have never been in blight in our town. One of them, I believe, is our public safety. They have always done a great job, whether it's our police department or fire department. They've always held the high standard, and they've achieved and continued to improve. The other one is our schools. Ken talked about the results, and I can share more of that, but our entire staff, starting with our teachers and being supported by school administrators, appointed school board, our classroom assistants, and other support personnel in cafeterias and building maintenance and all those things deserve our praise. So if you could do that with me, I encourage you to I'm going to go a moment longer, but I want to thank them specifically for the words that, the things that they do to make our schools what they are, and they just continue to improve. So can we please thank those folks that serve in our schools? So for me, I want to also encourage all of our residents and businesses to find a simple, more personal way to thank school employees, not just the teachers, but everyone that works within our schools, those that volunteer in our schools. And to me, a simple way to do that would be a thank you note. A long time ago, I heard a former president talking about a U.S. president, talk about trying to write 5 thank you notes a day. I don't know about you, but my schedule is, I'm so busy, I don't know that I could do that, but I do occasionally write a thank you note. And it's amazing how that seems to change someone's perspective and it makes them feel truly appreciated. So I encourage us to do that. I'd also encourage us to write a letter to one of our school principals so that they can share that with the entire staff. My daughter, who is a teacher at one of our grade schools, received a personal note from a boy who's the son of a firefighter here in Speedway. And she had been his teacher in first grade. 3-4 years later, he's writing her a note that says, "Thank you, you've been my favorite teacher so far." And so today, I want to use that to thank do my own thank you and special recognitions related to our schools. First, I want you to think about when you were a young person, when you were early grade school, to recall a teacher who impacted your life. For me, I moved to Speedway at 6 years old. So I moved from IPS schools, a grade school in Broad Ripple, to Speedway, and although my parents and others did their best, because I was attending a school that wasn't as good as Speedway, I was behind in my reading abilities. Well, my first grade teacher, Julia Allen, recognized I was behind, and as she worked with me throughout the year and to improve, but I still needed to catch up to the other students even after the year was done. Well, lo and behold, the following summer, I lived across the street from Leonard Park. That first grade teacher also worked at Leonard Park during the summers in the shelter house, where hundreds of kids would go Monday through Friday, early in the morning till late in the afternoon, and we would play board games and croquet and shuffleboard and ball games and get into trouble and have fun and all those things that kids can do. It was the best free daycare this town ever offered anybody. And Miss Allen made it her mission to help me to still catch up on my reading. She brought a book there each day, and she required me to read it before I could play. Literally, I remember sitting underneath a little picnic table with her dog Charlie, a big German Shepherd. it just seems like yesterday in some ways, but it seems like a small thing to many, but for me, it changed the trajectory of my life. I eventually caught up and overcame that reading challenge. Well, Miss Allen went on to be a principal at Wheeler Grade School. She retired several years ago now, but you know, she still serves in her schools, in our library, and in our community, and in other ways around town. I've been blessed to have a lifetime relationship with Miss Allen now, 50 years. Yeah, okay, do the math, that makes me 56. But this morning, Miss Allen is here, and I would appreciate your helping me to show her our appreciation for her. Come here, come here. Yeah, I know. I didn't tell you that part, did I? Yeah. I didn't tell her I was going to call her up here. But I want to, first of all, I want to give her a big hug.
Yeah, I always hug my kids. Love you too.
What an awesome lady.
Embarrassed me here.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not used to that attention. Can I sit down now?
Yeah.
I am very much. Thank you.
That's so much better than anything else we can talk about. I'm sorry, but I love that lady, and I have for 50 years. A second thank you related to our schools is related to a legacy Veterans Day program started, sorry, I need a moment, started several years ago in the junior high by Chuck Bennett. He's now a guidance counselor in our high school, and today all of our schools have their own unique way of teaching and recognizing the importance of veterans. Last November, in a time where other parts of our society were interrupting and using our national anthem as a podium for social issues, our students at the junior high, albeit to important agendas, again, our students honored those who served in the military. I witnessed at the high school every student stand at attention at the right moments, and they praised and they thanked those in attendance who sacrificed for them. And all of us and more, those folks that served in the military served all of us. And they're to be recognized and appreciated and valued and respected. And so I'm so impressed that in a time when the media shows us mostly negative news stories, I make it a point to spend time with our kids in our schools. Because if you have a chance to talk with, see a student that's learning and has the future to look forward to, it gives me confidence when I look around at our schools, just like we saw today, and we can see any day of the week that we have a bright future because of our kids. Just give me a moment longer, because I'd like to also add another special note regarding two teachers that have just announced their retirements. Nancy Harrison and Barbara Whitus, who have been with the schools 50 and 46 years respectively. 50 and 46 years. They are amazing, and those kind of folks are impossible to replace. But you do what you can. You probably hire multiple people and spread their responsibilities. So speaking of veterans, we made significant strides last year with regard to a new war memorial. Jeff will share more about its completion this spring, but I want to share the good work the Memorial Committee has done the past few years, led by resident and veteran Steve Erisman. This project is like many others in Speedway over the past 18 years since we started focusing on redevelopment. There is tremendous and challenging work in acquiring and cleaning up previously developed and blighted industrial properties. It takes more than simply converting a green piece of farmland in an outer county, town, or city. In our case, we have to really work hard to repurpose that land. But when we do, we restore it to a new and better use. And in this case, we'll pay our respects to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country and our community. So I again want to thank the Speedway residents who serve in our town, in our churches, our clubs, our associations, and more. This group of Speedway people and those surrounding our town that are involved in those groups, they're really the glue that bonds all of our departments and our community together. And as I go forward, I want to thank my wife for allowing me to serve in this sometimes many hours capacity. I love doing this, and I know my fellow counselors do as well as our clerk treasurer. There are weeks where we put in a lot of hours that sometimes are difficult, but most of the time it's a lot of fun because we're seeing progress made. So I thank my fellow counselors and Monty Klooms, our clerk treasurer, for the work he does. The good Lord has blessed us with a wonderful small town surrounded by a great city, and I'm proud to call it home. And I thank you for your attention. So as we transition to a video, I'm not sure where Brian is to do that, but there are monitors here, and before we do that, if you're in the front, you might need to turn around or maybe step to the back to be able to see the monitor. So if you could, just take a moment before you start that so that you can get positioned to see that. There is a monitor right here, so those in front, if you want to come to the front to watch. I believe the second row is probably going to have to get up.
All right, everybody, good morning.
That's an awesome video, and Brian Pierce and Bill, who oversee our cable access and do a great job, put that together. And you now know, when I said earlier, it's way too much information to try and put into this talk. The old saying that a picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, what does a video speak? Millions. So what a great town we live in, and I thank those guys for putting that together. There's just so many great things happening. Next is 2018 Town Council President Jeff Matthews. Really excited to hear his presentation.
Excitement is not exactly the word I would use, but thank you, Gary. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us all. I'm extremely excited to be the 2018 Town Council President. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. Also want to thank those that are joining us on the YouTubes. Actually, just a quick story. I had an old Speedway classmate shoot me a text a little while ago and said if I would mention his name, he would pay me $50. So on behalf of the Scholarship for Speedway, we would like to take your donation, Brian Ritchie of Dreamweaver Carpet. So thank you. Yeah, give Brian a hand. There you go. So I'd also like to thank Councilor Gary Raikes for his leadership as president of the Town Council in 2017. As a council in the town, we had quite a bit on our plate. And without Gary's dedication and love for the community, we would not be where we are today without him. So thank you, Gary. And while I'm handing out pats on the back, I would like to thank all the department heads and all the staff that makes this town run as seamlessly and smoothly as we see it today. So thank you all for helping us out. I'm a quick talker, and my speech is short, and I did it in 20-point font, so this will go fast. Without the use of a crystal ball, I'm excited to touch on some of the things that the town will experience in 2018. It goes without much explanation or surprise that we continue to see growth in our commercial areas, new business opportunities, improvement in housing and housing demand in Speedway, strong community engagement, exceptional schools provided by some of the best in the business, a host of outstanding services, award-winning public safety, and many, many more. All of these things are mentioned haven't happened by accident. These are the results based on hours of work and made by countless numbers of people in the community. So thank you again. So without further ado, here are just a few things that we're going to touch on for 2018. First, the Speedway Trails Association continues their tremendous work and will help guide the paving project of the B&O Trail from Main Street to Eagle Creek. So I know that's a great project and we're all very excited about. Secondly, the Speedway Home Helpers are coming off the successful 2017 campaign where they assisted 12 homeowners just last year. The goal for 2018 is to help 15 to 20 homeowners do minor repairs and yard cleanup. This is a great way to give back to the community, so I do encourage all of you to participate next year. The spring and fall dates are being organized now, so be looking for some announcements soon. Speaking of housing, the CDC and the Speedway Housing Authority Commission will be looking into updating our permitting process to ensure homeowners can obtain basic permits seamlessly. This would be another joint partnership between code enforcement, our clerk treasurer's office, and potentially partners in the state. So that's another exciting addition to what we're working on in 2018. So I'm going to ask, I saw Chris Wheeler. He's with one of the newer businesses in Speedway, Bell Helmets, Bell Racing. Chris, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready for this? Okay. Have you ever thought about what happens to the water after you take your morning shower? Yes. Good answer. Good answer. Have you ever wondered what my fellow counselors and I actually do besides a few meetings a month? Yeah. Careful. Okay. Well, wonder no more, my friend. We are going to introduce a program called Speedway 101, which will cover all functions of the town. It'll mimic a little bit like our Citizens Academy that this police department is so successful with. This will cover everything from the government, town government, to our water department. It will get a behind-the-scenes look on what we do and how we function. So we're right at the very beginning planning stages of that, so be looking for some announcements here in middle spring. To further help citizens understand how their local government works for them, we've also started a communications audit process last year to help improve and clarify communications. From basic updates to ensuring emergency situations are communicated as quickly as possible, we will have a plan in place. The oh-so-popular sanitary department has several projects that are also being worked on. Some of them include the research and evaluation of green energy, options to reduce the electrical demand and carbon footprint of the treatment plant. They will also begin to replace equipment that has reached its useful life. Some of this equipment is 40 to 50 years old, so it's due time. Lastly, Norm Berry and his staff will be expanding their public education efforts in the area of stormwater quality and its importance to protect the public health and the environment. Continuing on with utilities, our Waterworks department will be performing several upgrades to our critical drinking water infrastructure. The most visible will be repainting of the Meadowwood Water Tower this summer. Tim Gropp is here with us this morning. Good morning, Tim. He and the Speedway Redevelopment Commission will continue their fine work in 2018 by monitoring current and ongoing projects. The Wilshaw project, located at 16th and Main, will be going vertical this spring, April? Yep. Okay. It's a good thing my notes say that, so I'm glad you backed it up. So be looking for yet another transformation on Main Street. Other projects include the update of Economic Development Master Plan for the town, developing a complete planning and strategy for the redevelopment of 2500 High School Road, and to create a long-term funding strategy for the SRC and the economic development. And last but certainly not least, I know Gary touched on this briefly, but we're going to save the best for last. I'm honored to announce today that Main Street will be home to a new memorial honoring Speedway's military veterans. The nonprofit Speedway War Memorial Foundation, which is leading the effort, recently closed on a parcel of property located at 1060 Main Street, formerly owned by Indianapolis Power and Light. The 9,500 square foot facility will feature a monument with the names of service members who were killed in the line of duty beginning with World War II. Benches will flank the memorial, and engraved bricks will welcome visitors to the site. The memorial will also include 20 new parking spaces and will be located in a prominent location where the soon-to-be-paved B&O Trail will intersect with Main Street. The Speedway War Memorial Foundation plans to break ground in March and will be a projected dedication on Memorial Day of this year. The project would not be possible without the tireless efforts made by Steve Ersman, the Speedway War Memorial Foundation, which he leads, and all the volunteers and donors that have made this project a reality. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you all for coming this morning.
Thank you, President Matthews. As you can hear, as you just heard, we have a busy 2018 ahead of us. If I can, for just 1 second, doing all that work and making all that happen takes a lot of very dedicated and hardworking people. If you're one of our department heads or an employee of the town, if you could stand up, just be recognized for 1 minute. Go ahead, yes. We're fortunate to have a really good team, and I had nothing to do with it. I just walked in, and there they were. I just make good coffee. They do all the work day in and day out, so thank you guys. And I also see a lot of our volunteers, board and commission members. If you're on a board and commission, I mean, volunteers are so critical to what we do in this community. If you could also stand and be recognized. Thank you all. Thank you, guys. So that concludes the program this morning, the 2018 State of the Town Address. Thank you all for braving the weather and coming out, and God bless. Thanks.